What's up? It's AK Babyface. Subscribe to supporting icons for the latest boxing news.
So one positive to take away from this news that the WBC have in fact ordered Deontay Wilder to defend his WBC heavyweight world title against Dominic Breazeale is that at least now we're starting to see some of the jigsaw puzzles starting to come together now. We're starting to see some situations now resolved, as in we didn't quite know what's going to happen. Would the WBC order this fight? Would they not? Where would this leave Dillian Whyte? What's happened with Tyson Fury? All this kind of thing. So one solitary moment we can now look at it and go, okay, now the fog is starting to clear a little bit. But it's still not great news from other parts, which we'll get into in a minute. But for now, I'm going to read out the WBC's statement. And this is what they had to say. WBC World Heavyweight Champion Deontay Wilder shall fulfill his mandatory obligations by fighting Dominic Breazeale next. This order constitutes the start of the free negotiation period for champion Wilder's mandatory defence of his title. If no agreement is reached between the camps, the WBC shall conduct a purse offer ceremony on April the 4th, 2019 at the WBC offices in Mexico City, Mexico. So, that is a WBC statement. So they have until April the 4th to have free negotiations, which you'll probably agree with pretty soon. I imagine that Dominic Breazeale isn't going to play too much hardball because he wants his fight. Both of these guys are PBC fighters, which kind of makes sense why the WBC ordered this fight. To be honest, why? Because they're both PBC. PBC have a great relationship with the WBC. It shouldn't be that way. The WBC should be unbiased in every single way, but just look down the WBC rankings in virtually every single weight division and you'll see PBC fighter, PBC fighter, PBC fighter, not necessarily as champion, but highly ranked, okay? So, as I said, that's one good thing in the sense of the fog is starting to clear a little bit. Dominic Breazeale is a capable opponent, that's for sure for Wilder. If he hits Wilder, he could remove Wilder's jaw, okay? He could knock him clean out. Let's hope that happens. But you never know. So Wilder's going to be the favourite for this fight. I do fear that Dominic Breazeale is a bit too slow and easy to hit. We see it in virtually every fight. And he's going to be emotionally charged in this fight as well because of what happened, 2 years ago with him and when Dominic Breazeale got set upon in front of his wife and children by Deontay Wilder, his brother, Marcellus the Gimp Wilder, and a whole host of a posse of people started taking shots at him. Whatever the reason was, there was no need for that kind of response. So, yes, it's going to have that edge to it. There's going to be some needle where Dominic Breazeale is going to go there to take his head off. Okay? So, again, there is another positive. One thing, though, that the WBC, again, have dropped the ball. They've pushed Dillian Whyte to the side. When what they could have done was said, no, Wilder, okay, you fight Dominic Breazeale, but it's going to be a voluntary. Okay, because we've already ordered Dillian Whyte to have a final eliminator, which meant that you should have been fighting him or the winner of Dillian Whyte versus whoever next, okay, after your next defence. But at the same time, Wilder has only had one mandatory in 4 years, which is absolutely diabolical. So at least now he's going to have another mandatory, so we can kind of cross that off the bucket list for Wilder, okay? But Dillian Whyte, where does this leave him now? He did say that if the WBC did that, then he would be suing them. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he would sue them. Again, we're still waiting for official confirmation as to what's happened with Dillian Whyte. Is he going to be signing with ESPN Top Rank to broadcast his fights in America? Will he be fighting in America on Top Rank shows? Will he still be staying with Eddie Hearn even if he does do this deal? Which is highly possible, okay? So we're still waiting to find out. And if he does sue the WBC, and if he is still with Eddie Hearn and he is joined up with Bob Arum, that's them two going at the WBC to sue them and ask for reasons as to what's going on. Because they did order Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale before any of this was even thought about, when Wilder Fury was on, okay? So Dillian needs something. He needs some kind of compensation and a secondary mandatory to fight for the WBC title maybe this time next year, or as a WBC go, if Wilder was to win, they'll continue to let him have voluntary after voluntary after voluntary like he has. What's he had, 8 or 9 defences, only one mandatory? As I said, diabolical. So they need to put something in place, in my opinion, where regardless of what's happened, the fact that they're making Breazeale the mandatory. They're making this a mandatory defence, so Wilder has the excuse. There again, would he have fought Breazeale if it wasn't mandated? Probably not. I think that he'd have looked down at like number 15 and I don't know, maybe gave Derek Chisora a shot or something like that, or Tony Yoka. Who knows? But as I said, hopefully they come up with something to say, right, okay, so Dillian, right, your next fight, whenever it's going to be, whatever platform you're going to be on, whoever it is that you fight, as long as they're ranked in the top 10 of the WBC, it will be for a mandatory position. So you win that fight, you become mandatory, and you will fight the winner of Wilder versus Breazeale. In other words, the WBC are going to do 2 mandatories back to back to try and make up some lost ground. Because as I said, 1 mandatory in 4 years is disgusting. Okay? Over 4 years, actually. It's 4 years and 2 months currently. So by the time this fight happens, which will probably be, May 18, so I hear. You're talking 4 years, 5 months. That'll be 2 mandatories. Terrible. So they could do Dillian Whyte versus whoever for the next in line to get another mandatory done, as I said, to make up for lost time, because it's supposed to be a minimum 1 every year. 1 every year, a minimum 1 every 18 months. So there is some ground to be caught up on. Will the WBC do that? I don't know, to be honest. As I said, the WBC, all they really want to do is keep the PBC happy, keep Deontay Wilder happy. They've let him cherry pick his entire career. Listen, the WBC have no ruling to force Wilder to fight AJ. They can't make Wilder grow a spine. Okay, they can't make him grow a backbone and actually fight Anthony Joshua. They can't force him to fight Dillian Whyte as a voluntary. The only way that they could do that is by putting Dillian in as the next mandatory. Hopefully that's what they do. Will I hold my breath on it? Absolutely not. Now, I know some people will probably say, well, Dillian Whyte's got to be regretting this whole Anthony Joshua turn down now. Well, not really, because he's in no real position now than what he was before. Okay, because he's been going for the WBC for 2 years now. And Eddie Hearn does need to take a little bit of blame on this one. As I said to you guys before, and I know many of you guys have said this as well, that they should not have made Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora Part 2. Eddie Hearn should have made more of an effort to get Dominic Breazeale in the ring with him on December 22nd. Had that happened, guess what? Dillian Whyte will be fighting Deontay Wilder next on May 18th. Eddie Hearn could have been in a position to go to purse bid on that one, win the purse bid, and drag Wilder over to the UK. But Eddie Hearn knows best, right? Of course he does. So this is the situation that obviously Dominic Breazeale is very happy. He said on his Instagram that he can't wait for this fight. He's been waiting for over 2 years now to get his own back and fight for his family for what happened. So he's got the bit between his teeth, that's for sure. Wilder, he acted like a complete coward. Whatever his reason was for attacking Dominic Breazeale, he didn't need about 30 other people to do that with him. And his little gimp brother should not have even been there to start with. But you know what, he's a troublemaker anyway. So yeah, as I said, this fight does have a bit of needle, and I know a lot of people are going to be picking Dominic Breazeale to win this fight. So can he win it? He can, as I said, if he hits Wilder. But Wilder is faster than Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale has more boxing IQ. He's more accurate with his punches. He's a lot bigger. He's a lot stronger. But Wilder is faster. And he's got that detonator of a right hand. And if he hits Breazeale, while Breazeale does have a very good chin, I think he'd probably go to sleep. Bear in mind, Anthony Joshua defeated Dominic Breazeale when he had glandular fever. So either way, you would fully expect Deontay Wilder to get rid of Dominic Breazeale in 2-3 rounds, you would probably imagine. But I mean, it's no shame if it goes to distance, really. But ultimately, Wilder, he has been exposed in his last couple of fights against Luis Ortiz. He was all over the place. He did definitely lose, according to 99% of the boxing public. Wilder did lose to Tyson Fury. He got a gifted decision, so again, he got exposed. So maybe this is an ideal opportunity for Dominic Breazeale. Or maybe the wrong time for Dominic Breazeale, because Wilder's not going to be happy that he's been frozen out by Tyson Fury for the time being. In other words, he's not getting a pay-per-view fight, and he's got to be kicking himself that he turned down an undisputed fight with Anthony Joshua. Why? Because he loves his fans. I promise my fans, it's not about money, it's all about legacy. One face, one name, one champion, Deontay Wilder. When a champion calls your name, you step to the plate, right? Well, happy fighting Anthony Joshua's leftover. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.